in the US, for example, Massachusetts Health, NSF, we need way more funding for those systems. We are looking at the true innovation and capability of the greatest minds on this planet are being stifled by the lack of funds and the publication process of what comes out. So, for example, some of the countries that are, when COVID-19 happened, for example, Singapore and Hong Kong were two of the countries, and South Korea, some of the countries that are ready and to help, they fared the best, shall we say. It's because they already had the infrared scanners in their airports, because they've already seen SARS in 2003. So for our lab, this is with my PhD advisor, Dr. Stephen Benner, and the Foundation for Applied Molecular Evolution. What we did was basic research. We tried to make life from scratch in the lab. Who would fund that? Would a VC fund that? There's no purpose for a VC to fund that, because VCs look strictly at ROI. But to get to that level, we need to have the basic fundamentals completely fleshed out and see, oh yeah, that's kind of interesting. So what we try to do is, when we're trying to make life from scratch in the lab, we look at, all right, there's an Earth, there's interstellar gas clouds, there's meteorites, and they're bringing in more amino acids than we use on this planet, and those amino acids are made from scratch spontaneously in the universe. Other DNA bases too. So what we did was, we said, well, let's make those synthetically in the lab. So DNA has 4 letters, A, T, G, and C. We created 8 more letters. So we have a 12-letter genetic alphabet now, and that ended up being used in the real world for human impact by being the most sensitive test for HIV and hepatitis on the planet. That product was licensed to Bayer and is used in hospitals around the world to make sure patients with these diseases are being cared for in the right way. So when one day I was sitting in my boss's office at 8 p.m., and here comes an email from National Institutes of Health about this new pathogen. We don't know what it is, but we need to be able to find a way to detect it. So we found a sequence as unique to that particular pathogen. We put it into the product we had, and by 8 a.m. the next morning, we had a product ready to ship to Singapore, and that was the test for the SARS coronavirus in 2003. And in the airports, they use an infrared camera to look for people with a fever. They pull them out of line. Those people were then tested our product. If they were negative, they boarded the airplane. If they weren't, they were sent to quarantine. And that's why Singapore, Hong Kong, Korea were ready to deal with what happened today. And that's why we need more basic science and funding, and then we pair with VCs, investors that actually look at the long-term vision of biotech companies. And really, when we're looking at global impact, we need the humans to survive. If there's no humans, then what are we doing? So health and wellness of the entire society depends on everyone, giving their fair share, not just looking at ROI, but actual impact into the ecosystem of what we have on our little planet Earth.